Hey, I'm Rick Watson, and this is Humaning, a podcast where I chat to everyday humans about life. Not just the highlight reels, but the doubts, the fears, and the repeating patterns that influence us all. Humaning for me is about being able to sit in the thick of it with a little bit of presence and a little bit of curiosity, but still have a willingness to be shaped by what we learn along the way. Toni Mackay, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's a hell of a story, which we'll get to. But what day is this? Tuesday. How are you on this Tuesday as we sit here right now?
I'm okay. I've got a bit going on, but I'm okay. Yeah, very nervous about being on this podcast.
Cool.
Feeling a bit of imposter syndrome, but we'll work through that.
Excellent. Because you've listened to a few of them, yeah?
Yeah, I think I've listened to most of them, actually.
Shit.
I travel a lot for work, and it's been my new thing. It's been great.
Well, I kind of want to jump in and tell the story of how we know each other and all of that, but I do want to check in first, like we always do. So if we stop and take a breath and just slow down a little bit, what's it like to be you right now, physically, mentally, emotionally?
Physically, I've got a fair bit of pain going on. So as you know, I've recently had some surgery. And turns out I've developed a bit of an infection from that, which explains the pain that I'm experiencing at the moment. So it's kind of nice to have an answer as to why, because I can go and do something about that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and just a bit frustrated in terms of my physical well-being, that I'm not able to move as much as I would like to while I'm recovering. I'm a bit impatient in that sense.
Sitting still is a hard thing, yeah?
Yeah, it really is. Mentally, I'm really clear. I'm in my 4th week off work.
Yep.
And when I take time off, I think it really demonstrates just how consuming my work is, or I should probably say how much I allow it to consume me.
Yeah.
So it's nice to not have that, and I'm not even thinking about it, which is really great.
Yeah. It's cool to notice. You don't really notice that stuff unless you're not in the environment,
yeah? Yeah, absolutely. And this is the second period of leave that I've had this year where I've been able to just 100% switch off from work and not even give it a second thought. And I've not been able to do that before. So that's been really nice.
Cool.
Emotionally, so this morning I had CT scans, which is, the start of this 12-week kind of cycle of life that I live in, living with cancer. And so today is kind of the start of that. It's pretty anxiety provoking because now I have to wait 10 days for those results to see if I'm still well or not. So the first 2 weeks or 10 days of that cycle is always I'm a bit wobbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wobbly as in anxiety?
Yeah. Really anxious.
Does that hang out anywhere in your body?
Probably in my stomach, really.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel, a bit nauseous and yucky just thinking about it. And my mind goes into overdrive, every little niggle or pain I get, I go, is it back? So, and then once I've got those results, I can, calm again, and then we do it all again in 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So
I'm really feeling that 12-week cycle.
Yeah. And it doesn't get any easier. You'd kind of think it might, but I don't know, it probably gets harder.
Yeah. So there's a bit going on this Tuesday.
A little bit. It's a busy day.
And I've just invited you onto a bloody podcast.
Oh, good distraction.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Amongst the other stuff that's happening in your life, I appreciate the effort to jump on when you're essentially in recovery. So there's that. My check-in, I feel a little bit silly checking in after hearing the enormity of yours, but in the name of not being dismissive to my own shit, I am feeling a little bit run down, a little bit zapped, actually, like sore throat, a bit of a cough, low energy. My partner Joe and I had our program down in Melbourne last weekend. It's kind of 2.5 days of hanging out with a group of people and doing some work with them. And normally the lead up to that weekend is cramming 5 days of clients and stuff into 3 days, and then logistically working out kids and dogs and pickups and hire cars and parking and then doing the thing. So I normally crash a little bit on the back of these trips. So I'm noticing that I had to have a little word to myself yesterday. It was like, there's actually nothing wrong. So you're fine. You just need some rest. And that seemed to do the trick. So yeah, physically feeling a little bit under. How am I feeling mentally? I think there's a little bit of haziness. Like you talked about really clear, but I'm probably a little bit the opposite. We haven't really spoken for like 30 years.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. We have this little bookend experience of like, we knew each other when we were kind of 17, 18, 19. And then I think we're both around 48 because we were born in the same year.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, we have this bookend experience, and like there's this huge gap of life in these 30 years that I don't know what we're going to talk about today.
That's
Yeah. But I think the emotion that's attached to that is actually one of a little bit of excitement more than anything else. I'm more excited than I am anxious around what we're gonna play with today. So that's me.
good.
How do we know each other, Tone?
God, how
What's
do we
your
know each
version?
other? So we grew up in the same regional area in country Victoria. Didn't go to the same school, but we had mutual friends, and that's sort of how we became mates back in high school, probably maybe year 10, I reckon.
Yep.
And, used to hang out at parties and
The
the
old sale parties.
good old red light disco. And then we both moved to Melbourne for uni, straight after school. And I think that's, that year we were probably closer than we had been before and spent a lot of time hanging out. Our respective housemates were in a relationship. And just as a result of that, you and I spent a lot of time
We were the third and
together.
fourth wheel.
And then I don't know what happened. I feel like I fell off the face of the earth, and you did too. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Both had our version of that, didn't we? And after hanging out as 18-year-olds.
Yeah. And then,
how do we reconnect?
well, you popped up on my Facebook a couple of times, in that someone you might know.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of a look at your page and saw your podcast. And then one day I decided to listen to it on my way home from work and, turned it on. And just like hearing your voice was, it was kind of nostalgic. Like it took me back to a really like happy time in my life, I think. And then the kicker was you made a joke and then you laughed at your own joke in a way that I just remember really vividly. Like it was exactly the Rick that I remember. I'm, driving.
So humble.
Yeah, driving along in my car, just grinning, like thinking, yeah, this is so nice. So yeah, so then I reached out and told you how much I enjoyed your podcast.
Yeah, it was cool. And then we had a chat on the phone, and I'm like, let's jump on a podcast, Tone, and see what happens. So here we are.
Here we are.
Mm. No, it's actually it's the second time that's happened to me from someone down home.
Yeah.
Um, one of my closest mates from high school, Craig Pendrick. Hey Pendo, I know you listen. Yeah, did the same thing, just like kind of accidentally came across it. And we hadn't spoken for like 30 years because I'm really shit at maintaining old friendships. And he kind of got the jigsaw of my life after through listening through all the episodes. And it's been really cool to like reconnect with him and to reconnect with you. And it's definitely a part of my life that I want to be better at, is like maintaining friendships that matter to me. I think I've been pretty good at doing the opposite of just like not pushing away, but just maybe withdrawing a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess we all have our version of that, don't we?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely wasn't one of the things that I expected from the podcast, of like getting to connect with old friends. Didn't even think about it, and I was just like, oh, this is awesome.
Just a little bonus.
Yeah, so it's been really good to reconnect. And yeah, so I guess we've got two starting points. There's like 18-year-old Toni, and then there's 48-year-old Toni.
Yeah.
Let's start with 48-year-old Toni. What does life look like? Like what shapes life at the moment?
Life's life. I want to say life's good. It is good, but there's a bit of overhanging kind of shit. But in general, like, it's good. I'm really happily married to an amazing man. I've got 4 great kids, really good friends. Love my job.
Yep.
But I have a diagnosis of stage 4 bowel cancer, so that follows me kind of forever now. So I was diagnosed in April of 2023 at stage 4, and went through quite a couple of major surgeries, chemotherapy, and now, like I spoke to briefly before, every 12 weeks I have CT scans and blood tests to check for recurrence of my cancer.
Yep.
So that's, that kind of overshadows things a little bit at times. I try not to let it, but like it just does.
Yeah, it would feel impossible to not let that overshadow you sometimes.
Yeah.
I assume, yeah.
It's kind of like at times, like you're kind of living 2 parallel lives. Like one, I'm living life as though I'm going to be well and I'm going to be here forever. And then there are other elements where I have to, be quite pragmatic about decisions and the way we live our lives, in terms of, what if I'm not? What does that mean for my kids? What does that mean for my husband? And so, yeah, there's certain decisions that, as much as you don't want it to define your life, you can't not consider it.
Yeah. What was it like on the day that you found out? Like, can you just talk me through that time a little bit?
Sure, it was fucking terrible.
Yeah, because that's kind of a life-altering moment, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Life changed in an instant. I'd been having symptoms for about 18 months, possibly a little bit longer, going to my GP repeatedly, and in the end she diagnosed me with IBS.
Yep.
And I just tried to manage what I thought was IBS for about 6 months or so. And one day I was sitting at work in a meeting with our senior leadership group, and my manager was watching me from across the table. I didn't realise that she was noticing, but I was having like this excruciating pain that was kind of taking my breath away, and I was, just pushing through the meeting, thinking no one had noticed, but she had.
Soldiering on.
Yeah, soldiering on. And when we went to a lunch break, everyone kind of left the room, and she said, "Can you hang on a second?" I'm like, "Yep, no worries." She goes, "You and me, we're heading up to A&E." She could see it, and she's a friend of mine also, so she'd kind of known, some of the symptoms and, the issues I'd been having. So we went up to A&E, I just certainly didn't think it was cancer. I just thought there was something not right.
Yeah.
And then they did CT scans and X-rays and all sorts of bloods and things. And I was sitting in this tiny little curtained off cubicle in the middle of A&E, and these two doctors walked in, and they both just kind of stood there, and neither one of them was saying anything. And the older one kind of nudged the younger one and said, "She's your patient, you tell her." I was like,
Oh.
oh, shit.
Oh.
And she just said, "You've got a massive tumour and it's quite likely it's cancer." So
What did
was
that
admit.
news feel like?
Oh, just um, shattering. Like, I kind of went into shock though, but my immediate thoughts were, what about my kids? What about my husband?
Mm.
And my husband wasn't with me. My friend was still with me because we didn't think we were going to find out anything significant. So Gray was at
Yep.
home with the kids. It was, having to tell them was awful.
Mm.
Yeah.
What's it like telling that story now?
Um, it's still difficult. It's
Yeah.
still difficult. And it's funny, I do really quite well emotionally around my cancer most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the anniversaries, and I've had two of them now, that just
Yep.
hit me like a ton of bricks. And I think the anniversary takes me back to that moment, maybe. That's
Yep.
what it is. Because despite the diagnosis itself, the whole treatment, it was horrendous. It was so
Yeah.
impersonal, and there was no feeling from either of those doctors. It was just really kind of black and white.
Yeah.
And
Here's the news.
this is it, kind of. At that stage, I didn't know it was stage 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, we didn't realise it had spread to my liver until probably about 4 weeks later.
Yep. So from that point, like that delivery from those doctors,
Mm-hmm.
um, I guess I'm just curious around like what did life look like after that conversation? And more about the mental emotional part of it than the literal part of it.
Um, it it was really hard. Like, it was grappling with that kind of reality that maybe I was going to die. Like, that was,
Yeah.
but also kind of not wanting to share that with my family or my friends. So I guess I've gone through this whole experience holding a lot of that to myself because I don't want to put that on my family. Like, I don't want, like, I
Mm.
only ever talk positively to them. Well, I talk realistically to them, but very positively.
Yeah. What's the story in there under that?
Mm, I don't know. I guess I don't want to worry them
Mm-hmm.
unnecessarily. I don't want to add to what is already a really heavy burden for them
Yep.
just with my diagnosis.
Yep.
And that's just me. Like, I choose to do that. If I unloaded on them, they'd absolutely be there for me. But
Mm.
I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
what do you get? I hear the benefits of like for them, but what are the consequences on you of not
Um,
sharing that?
yeah, I guess I just carry it and it's heavy.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And you kind of, I guess, bury it so that you don't have to talk about those fears. And I think probably the only time it comes out, like I said, is on those anniversaries, where that's probably really
Mm.
the only time I've ever cried significantly about this diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like
It,
just the concept of facing your mortality is fucking
mm,
huge.
yeah. Yeah. And I'm so, I guess, pragmatic, practical. We went off and did all of those practical things. We updated the wills. I bought the house that we live in before, I was with my husband, so the title was in my name, so we've transferred it to his name, like trying to make sure that,
Did
if
all the good
anything
adult
happens, that
things.
it's, everything's easy for them. So done all of those practical things, and we just keep motoring through.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that line you just said before around like, I carry the weight of it and it feels heavy.
Yeah, it's probably something I need to look at, isn't it?
Don't know.
But even like my appointments, I go to my appointments on my own.
Yep.
And my mum wants to come, my friend wants to come, my husband wants to come. I'm like, no, I'm good. I've got it. I'll go by myself. I'm fine. And I think part of that is that if I get bad news, I don't want
You
to
can
have
protect
to
everyone.
hold their emotions as well as my own.
Yep.
I just want to go get the news, deal with it, and then I'll share it in a way that works for me.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit protective,
Yeah, and just, and part of it's probably that I'm, pretty fiercely independent as well.
Get out.
So I'm like, I've
Well,
got
that was my
this.
next question. It's like, what do you make asking for support mean about you? Like, is there a block there?
I don't like to burden people, but I want to know that I can do it on my own. And I think that, that's something that has come from my previous marriage, like, coming out of that.
Yep.
Wanting to be fiercely independent and not rely on anyone, and I've got this.
Yeah. Cool. And super important too,
Yeah.
Like it's like taking our power back, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's on one hand, there's this like, I've got to prove that I've got this. There's this like super independent part of you.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, there's the I don't want to burden anyone else part of you.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
There's a little smirk there when I say that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
What are you smirking about?
It's probably it's a bad habit probably that I try
I don't know if
not
it's
to
a bad
rely on
habit.
other people. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just part of like we've all got our ways that we adapt in order to stay safe. And they're really clever ways, Some of them may be beneficial, some of them may be a bit painful. But we're really fucking good at working out what we need to feel okay.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a version of that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am okay, like doing, my appointments and things on my own. I don't feel like, unsupported or that I'm any kind of, martyr having to go off and do that. It's just, how I maintain, I guess, my own sense of control about myself and my well-being.
Well said. End of podcast. Done. No, it's a really important point. It's like it's how I maintain my own sense of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mum would come to me, not come with me to my chemo sessions. And like I'd be sitting in the chair hooked up, just, wanting to be in the zone, just, get this shit done. And mum's like sharing photos on her phone with the lady next door and they're exchanging, grandkid pictures and their mum's trying to show me. And God bless her, like if she listened to this, she'd be mortified because she was there to support me, meant so well. But I'm like, just stay in your lane, mum. I'm just here, just I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to look at anyone's picture of their dog on their phone. I just want to, get this done and get out of here. Yeah.
It's nice that you can laugh about that now, though.
Yeah, I have never told her that. So if she listens to this, sorry, Mum.
We love you, Mum. So I'm not sure how to phrase this question. What I want to know is how this immovable thing, this thing that you were confronted with, I won't say it's immovable, this thing that you were confronted with, your mortality that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How did being faced with your mortality change how you lived your life?
It It probably, well, it definitely made me more intentional about how I spend my time and who I spend my time with. I think that's probably the biggest change. Like, I haven't gone out and, stopped enjoying a glass of wine or eating, a vegan diet. Like, I haven't made any of those quantum kind of shifts like that.
Yep.
I lost my cousin to bowel cancer. She was age 49, about 18 months before my diagnosis. And she lived the healthiest lifestyle you could imagine. Vegan, didn't drink, meditated. She was like the epitome of good health, and, she still succumbed to it. So I guess with that in mind, I didn't want to follow any of those, trends of just drinking green smoothies and things like that. That wasn't for me. I'm not going to be here for a long time. I want to live my life and enjoy it. But I, definitely more intentional with the people that I spend time with and that I prioritize, and making sure that spending time with my family and, my closest friends.
Yep. Yeah. So hearing that, like, not cancelling out any joy, keep that rolling in.
Yeah.
But not going to the extreme of, like, I can, control, micromanage this and do all these other things. Like, just stay in the lane of what feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, I guess I don't want it to define my life. So, continuing to go about, life kind of as normally as possible, but not feeling like I have to say yes to, the dinner I don't want to go to, or, I'm quite comfortable.
The boundaries get a bit firmer.
Yeah. Just I don't have the time or the energy. I'd just rather focus it on, time with my friends and family.
Yep. And how has it changed the quality of time with your friends and family? Let's go kids first. Like, how has it impacted the connection you have with your kids?
It's they want to come with us more now. Like, when they get to the teenage years, they're so busy and want to go with their friends. But,
because you've got 4, haven't you?
I've got 4. Yeah, I've got 4. 3 of them are still at home. My eldest lives in Melbourne. He's at uni. But, they check in on me all the time, and they come when we go away for a weekend in our caravan, or, with my husband's family, we've got a holiday house down at Loch Sport, and previously they might have gone, oh, can I just stay at such and such as, but now they come, and, we spend that time together, which is really nice. And they're really thoughtful, beautiful kids. Like, they give me gifts and write me nice cards and things like that, when I'm having scans or tests and surgeries and things. I was in hospital for Mother's Day this year, and they came in with this great big platter of scones and jam and cream that they'd made, and gifts and just beautiful messages in cards. So I think, we just spend more time together.
It's pretty bloody nice, isn't it?
Yeah, they're good kids. I'm so lucky.
Well, I don't know if it's 100% luck, but
yeah, they're good.
Yeah. And what about, I don't know, feel free to be as ambiguous as you want, but how has it impacted with your relationship with your husband?
He doesn't share or show a lot of emotion. He buries it. So, but we talk about that sometimes. And, when I was in the thick of chemo or really unwell, he'd say he'd cry in his car on the way to work because he wants to be strong for me. So we're probably both a bit guilty of, not wanting to burden each other. Yeah, and it's unnecessary. But it's just how we are. But again, we spend a lot more time together. We took 3 weeks off in Feb and just jumped in the car with the caravan and headed up the New South Wales North Coast and left the kids at home.
Good spot.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So definitely plan to go back. I can't travel overseas anymore because I can't get travel insurance because of my stage 4 diagnosis and some other complications that I've got as a result of that. And I was so deva that, I couldn't go and travel. We had kind of these bucket list items. And then when we travelled that coast for 3 weeks, I thought, you know what? I don't even care. This is just magic. And we just have to hook our caravan on and take off.
Yeah, what does it mean to you? What is the magic in it? In that travel?
The slowness, like not having to be anywhere at any particular time. The ability just to spend the time together because, not juggling kids or work or, all of the, not having to mow the lawns. You're just away and can just focus on just hanging out together and swimming every day. Present. That was the best bit. I love the ocean, and just to be able to go for a swim, multiple times a day was just beautiful.
Bit different to Sea Spray Beach up here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, so different, not getting pummeled in the shore break.
Not throwing shade over Sea Spray, but
yeah,
it's a little bit different.
And I was like, I think I told my kids about 50 times. They tell me, like, I was like, I'm standing in the water, it's up to my shoulders and I can still see my toes. They're like, Mum, you already told us that.
Yeah. So there's been a recent operation. There's been a little bit of infection come back.
Yeah.
And I don't want to harp on this, but I actually just like to be interested around like this 12-week cycle.
Yeah.
Where does this fit into all that now?
It doesn't really impact it. So it's just the scans that I've had. So I've got a really rare and aggressive mutation of bowel cancer. That's just about guaranteed to come back. But I've been cancer-free for much longer than many, many people that have this mutation. So I feel really fortunate. But it's kind of that double-edged sword that you're like, oh, is my luck about to run out? But they'll just, I don't know, I'll probably have to possibly go back into hospital and go on some IV antibiotics for a couple of days to clear it up. And so it doesn't change this. It's just that they managed, happened to pick it up on the scan I had this morning that was unrelated.
Yeah. And then you roll through that 12-week cycle, and the next 12 weeks there's another test.
Another test, yeah. And we just keep doing that forever, really. So, but, each time when the results come back, I make my 4 closest girlfriends come around and we open a bottle of French champagne and then we do it all again.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like the celebration of right now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's it. You just got to live, it's hard, but you just got to make the most of it and not kind of, dwell on it, but it's just the time between the scan and getting the results. That's the hard part.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's, generally about 10 days. I get the images on my phone within probably 2 to 3 days, and I always open them and try and decipher them, but, it's not possible. Every 12 weeks I look at them and I go, oh, I wonder whether I can see something, but of course I can't. I'm not a radiologist.
Hey, ChatGPT, can you read these for me?
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Yeah, get onto that. We were laughing yesterday that I've got about 2.5 years of study to go to finish my master's. By the time I finish it and actually become a therapist, ChatGPT will be the go-to therapy tool for everyone in the world.
Yeah, should be redundant.
Yeah.
I got 3/4 of the way through my master's and I just pulled the pin, and so I take my hat off to you. It's a hard slog.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the whole... I think I've actually been touched a little bit by facing my own mortality, and that's kind of the reason that I did it. It was like 3 years ago. No, just after 2 years in March, Dad passed away, and it kind of made me think about like, what do I want to fucking do with this second chapter of life? Like I'm 48. I could keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm pretty good at burning myself out and pushing too hard and all of those things. But yeah, I think it was just like it gave me an opportunity to spend a little bit of time and be like, what really fucking matters to me? What do I want? How do I want to spend my days in the second half of life? And I think connection was a value that really popped up in that process.
Yeah.
Um, so I just went for it.
Good on you.
um, and you talk about imposter at the start of the potty, and it's like I was the poster boy for my whole first year of being in gestalt therapy and studying. It was like, oh, I do not belong here. I don't fit in here. This is not, And it wasn't until I was talking to someone yesterday, it wasn't until the third weekend that we've just had this year where I felt the smaller sense of being capable.
Yep.
Like, oh, I think I can do this. That's like nearly a year and a half later from starting.
Yeah. The study's hard, isn't it? Like you have to get your head back in that game and
That the academic writing thing has
yeah,
been interesting.
the referencing. God, I hate the referencing.
Well, the world's got Chat GPT now, so I shouldn't say this probably on a podcast because one of my
Yeah.
lecturers might listen to it. But um, our school's really good. They just make you, if you've used AI, you can just reference it and acknowledge it. And so instead of spending hours trying to trawl through the library, I can just be like, okay, here's a thing that I need. What are 5 different authors that I can go to? Like it's kind of changed the game on that front.
Yeah, right.
Um, but I think the other thing with my masters, as opposed to probably some others, is it's really experiential.
Yep.
So we're in the seat a lot of the time. We're in study group. We're in therapy. We're actually doing the thing more than learning about the thing.
Yeah. Makes it more tangible, doesn't it?
Oh, it's just a better way for me.
Yep.
Like I'm not. If I had to do 4 years of masters out of a textbook, I couldn't do it.
Mm.
It's just not me. Um, and I guess what that makes it mean is then I can bring it into my practice pretty much straight away.
Yep.
Yeah, like my partner Joe and I were down in Melbourne doing our program last weekend, and I had men's circle last night, and we did some stuff that we did on the weekend, but that was some stuff that we'd done at Gestalt training the month before. So it kind of just like I get to
Use it.
use it, play
Yep.
with it, own the fact that I'm in a I've got my white belt on, and we are just experimenting and playing and learning how to do that in a respectful and ethical way, rather than I have a bit of an aversion to people who learn some skills and then crack people wide open and can't support them to put the pieces back together.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's probably why I'm doing my masters, because that's so important to me that I don't want to be one of those people.
Yeah.
And I just guess I think you asked me before we started. I don't know whether it was before or after. Is doing this podcast helping with the
Yeah.
therapy? And I was like, it's a really big part of it, because we're really conscious of not coming into a session with an agenda and not ticking the boxes or following a blueprint or anything like that. So yeah, these conversations are just like super interesting to have that don't have a outcome.
Yeah. It's
And a
not.
little bit scary.
Yeah. It's not like I'm a planner, an organizer. Like invite me to a meeting. There's no agenda. I'm not coming. I want to. So this is. But it feels easy.
Yeah. What's the fear there?
I think I just like to be prepared. I like to, like a lot of the meetings I sit in are probably with people sort of higher up than me, and I just want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm confident. And so I want
Competent.
I want to plan and do my research, and I don't like to wing it. I have got better at doing it, and I've also got much better at saying I don't understand what you're saying, or I don't know anything about that. Whereas previously I would have always been terrified to do that. But we had a general manager that I saw do it, who I really admired, and I saw her do it a lot. If she can do it, I can do it.
I love this. This is super important. The willingness to say I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
I don't understand. I haven't heard that acronym before. rather than
Yeah.
madly Googling on my phone, like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of the frame I use when I'm with someone is like, can we welcome everything? Can we welcome whatever's going on right now? Can we own our experience? And then can we reveal our experience to someone else? And I think that's just a version of that. It's like, I'm hearing what you're saying. I don't know the answer. I'm actually going to reveal to you that I don't know the answer
Yeah.
and be okay that I don't know the answer. Because I'm sure younger versions of us were like, we have to get it right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm okay to do that too. So I lead, pretty large teams at work, and I'm quite okay to tell my team members I don't know, like those that, sit in my team, but it's
When
the
you go
people that
up.
are higher up that I'm like, I really need to know this. And I actually don't.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just funny, like, just as an example with that, like the little cages that we build for ourselves of like
Mm.
fear, expectation, judgment, control,
Yeah.
anxiety, and like what's the knock-on effect of that? Like,
Mm.
that's what interests me about this kind of work is like, what's the thing under the actual behavior? Like, what's the feeling that we're either trying to avoid or we're trying to feel more of?
Yeah. It's interesting, like unpacking the layers of it.
Yeah, and then and also in the unpacking, just going, fucking, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. I think one of the best lines I've seen someone and I've modeled from them is like, I'm going to take a guess, but I'm probably going to be off the mark. And can you let me know if I am? It feels like that's got some nice permission in it to just,
Yeah.
have a crack, but fuck it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. That's good.
Mm.
That's good.
And yeah, it's interesting that like that part of us that wants it to be right. And I'm thinking not so much in a work setting, but even in relationships, friendships, family, of the black and white thinking of right and wrong. Like, this is my right and you're wrong, and I'm going to defend my right, because it's not so bad in a work setting where we can like, yeah, I don't know about that. Can you tell me more? But when it's in an interpersonal setting, that's got a different vibe to it, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think because I don't know, the stakes are higher or the stakes are more personal. Like I don't know. I don't think
Yeah,
I
no,
articulated that well, but
I don't know either. We have a get out of jail free card if we can say I don't know.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the stakes are different.
Mm.
I think emotionally the stakes are higher because there's some sort of emotional dynamic that's created between you and your partner, or you and your kids, or you and your best friend. Full disclosure, my with my ex-wife in my previous marriage, I defended my rightness fucking vigorously.
And
Like,
that was your
real
undoing.
aggressively big, and even to the point I'm like, I don't even know what I'm defending anymore. Like, this is crazy. But regardless of what it was, I was like, I'm going to
Yeah.
sink on this ship. This is the hill I'm dying on. And all I did was fuck up my own peace for
Yeah.
an opinion, really. Like, it was just, I was trying to, be right.
And have you changed that?
Um, I think I can comfortably say I have,
Yeah.
because it got me in so much trouble.
Do you
It
have
just
to consciously kind of like is your natural instinct to go to defend and then you have to catch yourself and go, hey, we don't do that anymore?
No, I think I've been through that stage,
Yeah.
and now I'm much more in the I actually don't know, and I'm interested to hear what you got to say,
Yeah.
and be able to be a little bit more fluid with it rather than defensive.
Yeah.
Or I'm actually, probably the better way to put it is I've built a better relationship with being different. Like, I'm better at having a different opinion and that being okay.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny because like last year in our study, like, you can imagine 50 people that want to study the Masters in Gestalt therapy. Like, there's some interesting cats, there's some amazing, amazing people. There's some deep people. There's some people that just, I don't know. I'm not going to say too much because they might listen, but there was some people last year that really fucking triggered me. And it was because I hadn't really thought about, am I okay being different to how they are?
Yeah.
And do I need to take responsibility to make sure that they think like I think? And it was a really good lesson for me because it was like, oh, what does it look like if I accept that we're different rather than fighting to get them to see my view?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want more of in my life is peace. And that means less fighting, less defending my
Yeah.
rightness that may or may not exist.
Yeah.
And I
Just
realized,
you just accept it and like be okay with it.
Yeah, accept that we can be a bit different. But the realization was that I was the one fucking my peace by wanting to be right all the time.
Mm.
And my ego was like leading the charge.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, you idiot. I have moments like that fairly often. It's like, fuck.
I don't recall that about you, like from years ago though, like being like wanting to be staunchly right or super
I
opinionated.
think where it showed up, it's probably in relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the dynamic that, that created in relationship and turned kind of into a bit of a pattern.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So friendships were fine. It was, no problem. We could just freestyle. But
Yeah.
when it came to, and I think it's making me think. Tony, you're making me think. This is not the idea. It's meant to be the other way around. I think I cared so much about what other people thought of me, especially my partner, that that was kind of at the basis of it. And I think that's probably the thing that shifted in the last 5 years, maybe a bit longer, is I've got more self-validation and less need to be validated by others.
Yeah. Right.
And that balance is kind of squared up a little bit, where it was like heavily like 95% I need others to make me feel good. And now I'm kind of, not that I can pump my own tires up, but I know who I am more.
Yeah. And you're comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's probably just a little bit of maturity, but a little bit of doing the work and going through some shittiness and learning the bits that I don't want to continue on with.
Yeah.
What would be a repeating pattern of yours that you've learned about yourself as we get a little bit older?
I listened to your episode about your fracking episode, and like that is me, like just wanting to fix things for people and be that person. And I think in my personal life, like those people that are close to me, when something's happening for them, I want to jump in and be the person that can support and help and hold that space with them. And sometimes that's probably can be a bit detrimental to my own well-being, I guess.
As in giving too much of yourself?
Yeah, like just and holding too much. But I can't not, and I suppose that's why I work in the sector that I do.
What is the sector that you work in?
So I work in the community services, social work sort of sector. I've got postgrad quals in family violence, so that's kind of my, I guess, passion piece, working in that area. So, wanting to provide the support, and, I certainly don't go in and save the day for people in my work, that wouldn't be right. But I do see that in some of our young practitioners wanting to go in and, change the world in a day. But I think,
Yep.
I don't know, I guess it's probably just have a lot of empathy,
Mm.
and probably at times need to keep that in check, in
Yeah, it's kind
proportion.
of interesting because it's like the fracking thing that was in that podcast. It stands for like fixing, rescuing, advice, and caretaking. And they're kind of the little unconscious ways that we, under the guise of helping someone out, maybe get some needs met underneath it. The really blurry part with that is that it can also be that you're just a really fucking caring person,
Yeah.
and you actually care about other people and how they are and their livelihood and their wellness, and it's tricky. Then like, what's the balance between, am I overstepping, am I understepping? Like, where's the middle?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I had a version of that with working in the fitness industry. I didn't realize it, but I unconsciously really enjoyed people relying on me for them in order to be fit and healthy and well. And it was only because I told them what to do or motivate, whatever the stuff was. And I didn't realize that I was like being fed this feedback loop of like, you're valuable by fixing others. And I really fucking cared, and I still do. But now the difference is that I care more about others finding their way with their own wisdom
Yeah.
rather than it being reliant on me,
Yeah. Kind of, supporting them, but letting them find their own
Yeah.
solutions.
And I
Yeah.
think a big part of it is what we said before of like, I don't know. I don't have all
Yeah.
the answers.
Yeah.
What do you get out of the fixing part? What's in it for you?
Just, I guess, seeing people in a better place than they were, I
Mm-hmm.
think. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of some examples. My brothers had a bit of a rough time, like with a relationship and stuff, and just trying to provide the support to him through that, just wanting to see him happy
Yep.
at the end of it. So, I don't. There's nothing in it for me other than knowing that the people I care about are okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
that little, that's a beautiful intention,
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
just I've got to make sure that I don't, I don't know, hold too much of other people's stuff
Mm.
myself. Keep a bit of a line. And like you,
Yeah.
I probably, that validation from others. I've become better at not, needing that or wanting that. And I think that probably comes from, when I left my ex-husband. For most people, the end of a marriage should be, sad and traumatic. For me, it was kind of like a bit of a relief, and it was
Mm-hmm.
empowering. Like I was able to kind of almost, I was free to find myself again and, take back my power. And so from that point, I guess that's where that kind of real independence kind of
Mm.
kicked in, and not really caring so much, or not just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. And I've got better at, being able to rationalize that for myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's their stuff, not your stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's a hard one, isn't it?
Mm.
Because sometimes the barbs hurt.
Yeah, yeah. It still does, but then you can kind of sit with it for a bit and go, you know what, it's not true, and it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I think that's the really good example of like self-validation. Is like knowing yourself and like, yeah, that's actually not true.
Yeah,
And it's not mine to hold.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, they're probably the
And
two.
what's on the other side of that? Like when you're not holding their stuff and when you're not taking on their opinions and their observations, like what's the feeling, what's the experience on the other side of it
Um,
for you?
I guess just being able to like just be my authentic self and be okay with that. Like, yeah, not it, I don't let it bother me. Whereas, well, years ago, and my first marriage was characterized by some pretty significant emotional and psychological abuse. So, that messaging was pretty consistent for, 15
Yeah.
years or so. So it's really hard to switch that off,
Fuck yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I think now I do it pretty well.
It's huge. It's fucking massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like learning to have your own back, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, knowing your own truth, I think.
Yeah. And then it makes sense when it comes to the health stuff that you're like, oh, no, I can hold this. I got this,
Mm.
because that muscle is building and growing and flexing.
Yeah. Yeah. In control.
Yeah. And then the fun part is like, okay, what is too much control? How do I, like, is there a wall or so I could put down to let someone in and it not be a burden?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the beautiful dance that we get to have now.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what are you excited about? I like to
What am I
we're
excited
edging
about?
towards an hour, but
What am I excited about?
and it can be right now, it can be a present moment thing, it can be looking forward into the future. Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, I really hope it looks like, over the next few years, watching my children, continue to grow into beautiful young adults. I've got, a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old, 16 and about to turn 15. So they're busy, but I love, I get so much joy watching them kind of come into, themselves. Like my
Yeah,
eldest
it's
son,
cool, isn't it?
my eldest son who's down in Melbourne, he's working at a bar, he's studying music production, lives with his partner on South Bank. Like they're just living their best lives, and I love that I get to witness that.
Yep.
And I'm really excited and hopeful that I get to witness that with all of my kids, that I'm here to watch them all grow and, I guess, fulfill their own dreams, whatever that looks like. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. That's the big picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excited about doing lots more travel with my husband and and some with the kids as well. The kids are tricky. They're so ingrained in, their friends and their part-time jobs and all that
Yeah.
they do. It's hard to pin them down for, longer than a few
Yep.
days at a time. So, but I think that's, I'm looking forward to going back to work when I'm well again. So
Yeah.
hopefully that's in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I enjoy that clarity and, peace that I've got from work's been really lovely, but I love my job. So I am really keen to get back to
It's a big
that.
part of us, isn't it?
It is. I just like when I have these breaks though, and I've got that clarity and it's, it's not chaotic. Every time that happens, I go, okay, how do I go back to work and make it not be as chaotic or not allow it to be as chaotic
Yep.
as it has been. And it's, I'm partially to blame for it. It's also just part of the work that we do because, we're
Yeah.
dealing with,
It's a hectic sector.
it's hectic. We're dealing with people, in the most vulnerable times of their lives where, all of our funding
How do
comes
you
from the government.
resource yourself in that job?
I am in a senior management position, so I don't do client-facing work
Yep.
anymore. So I'm, leading the teams on the ground that do.
Yep.
So I guess that one step removed really helps. I don't know whether I could do client-facing work for, 10 or 15, 20 years. I think
It's
I'd burn
tough.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love mentoring and coaching the staff that are on the ground doing it. And I love, doing the case consultations and unpacking those really complex, cases with them,
Yep.
and supporting that. But I think I do, a lot with our budgets and things, and all of our funding comes from the government. So, that chops and changes all the time. So it's not a predictable kind of workplace, so you never kind of know what's coming at you. So for a planner like me that likes to have, their schedule done
Yep.
and know what I'm doing, it gets thrown out the window every day. So I think for me that feels chaotic because that's not how I operate. So I guess I want to work out how I can make it less chaotic within, being realistic as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you were to take a guess? How would you do that?
Gosh, I don't know. Like if I knew, I would have done it like 2 years ago.
Mm.
I don't know. I think definitely switching off and knowing that it'll still be there tomorrow
Mm.
is something that I have to get better at. Not checking emails at night time or not doing work on the weekends because it will still be there.
Yeah.
And I don't have to, get it. It's okay not to have, finished the to-do list
It makes me
for the
think
day.
of um, the paradoxical theory of change, and that is just a big fancy word of this really common sense sort of theory around change occurs when we accept things exactly as they are
Yeah,
rather than forcing them to be something that they're not.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
feels like this, like that work setting is just, it's going to be what it is, isn't it?
yeah, it's never going to change. So I've got to change
Ah,
how I exist within that construct.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think the first part of that is like, can I accept that this is going to be the way it is at work
yeah,
in that setting? And then maybe some magic happens after the acceptance, you know?
yeah. Being able to, decline that meeting because
Yeah.
I literally cannot fit it in my calendar.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's just, I have to make a conscious um, decision to do it. And I've known it for a long time, but I think the benefit that I've seen from these 2 blocks of time off this year, the impact, and my kids notice it too.
Mm.
So, when I can see the benefit of doing it, I think that's more of a driver to go, you know what, Tony, commit to this.
Mm.
Yeah,
Cool.
my kids definitely see it. I've said to one of my daughters, I'm like,
Not
you should,
much gets past them.
no, I'm like, you should do social work. She's like, as if I want your job.
It is a challenge. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Um, Tone, it's been really good to hang out.
Yeah, I've loved this. It's been
Yeah.
great.
I have one pressing question though. Like we've been hanging out with present day Tony,
Yeah.
and we didn't really touch on 18-year-old Tony other than a little
No.
brief. If you would be able to go back as present day Tony and give her some advice, what advice would that be? You know, we're living in
Um,
Carlton, we're out doing our thing, we're at uni, we're.
yeah, I would
What does she
uh
need to hear?
probably don't settle for second best and, value yourself more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Mm.
They're probably the two. Yeah, I think. I don't know. Yeah, what about you?
No, I just don't worry about me. No, I think just to put a little bow in that, like we've been talking about self-worth, self-validating stuff,
Yeah.
and by circumstance you've had to learn how to do that. So it makes sense that that's the perfect piece of advice to give that 18-year-old you in advance.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
settle. You're worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice.
What advice would I give my 18-year-old self? It's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
A mistake doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
I made some mistakes back then, and I think I carried a little bit of the shame of those mistakes for way too long, and identified with that made me a bad person.
Yeah, right.
And I think what I would say to that little 18-year-old who fucked up would be like, your mistakes don't define you.
Yeah. So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I said that to a friend recently, really good people make really shitty choices sometimes, but it doesn't define who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not a bad person. You've just got some bad behavior sometimes.
Yeah. Or just, a shitty choice.
Yeah.
But we've all made them.
We have.
Yeah.
All right, Tone. Well, thank you so much for taking up my offer of this little experiment.
Thanks for having me.
I think we've proven today that there is real value in everyone's story, because that's what this podcast is about. It's just like, let's just get on and talk.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the courage it takes to come on and talk about all this stuff when it's not something that you do normally. So thank you for your bravery.
Thanks, Rick.
All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Hey, before you head off, I just wanted to say thanks for listening to that conversation. If you enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate if you followed the podcast on Spotify, left a review, or even just left a comment and let me know what you got from the podcast. Those little bits of interaction mean a lot. We're not doing any promo or ads, or we're not selling anything on this podcast. So the goal is just to get these conversations into more people's ears. So if you've got a spare 30 seconds, really appreciate those little steps that help this grow. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.